Hey everyone, welcome back to Rally Caps. It's a podcast for artists, entrepreneurs, and everybody in between. I'm Steven.
I'm Eric.
And today we celebrate 1 year of posting every single week for Rally Caps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
because
did it.
this is the last episode of the year.
Boom.
Which means we officially did it.
Yes.
52 weeks, 52 episodes.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's the first time we've ever, in the history of Rally Caps, in the 4 years that we have been a show, have gone a full year posting every single week.
And there's a calendar year too.
Yeah.
January to December.
Yeah. We love that.
Yeah. Take that, algorithms.
Yeah. Algorithms. It was also cool. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, the beginning of this year too was like January 1st was a Monday. So it felt like, really, it almost felt like it was meant to be. Like, hey, we always post on Mondays. First of the year, first episode, let's go.
Yeah.
Feels so good, man.
And this time, we're going to take a break.
Yeah. This time, 2025 January, we're just going to like chill a little bit. Which, no, we are.
Okay.
We are for real.
But for one of the biggest reasons why.
Yeah. I'm a dad now. Pretty much.
Daddy.
Pretty much pretty much the biggest reason why. Yes. I am officially a father now.
Father Schultz.
Yeah. I think by the time this episode is released, you've probably seen the announcement somewhere. We had our little dude, Rowan, back at the beginning of December 5th. And Laura and I are absolutely loving being parents. It's the most beautiful thing. And as such, want to take some time to really be with them and invest in the early weeks and months of just like how special things are right now.
As you should.
Yeah. So January, because of like the role that I play, like producing the show and editing things and getting stuff out, that is a lot right now. And we want to just take a quick little reset in the month of January, recalibrate a little bit, spend some more time looking inward, and we'll pick things back up later. But yeah, January is going to be a little off season, if you will, for Rally Caps. Kind of like baseball works as well. You know, it honestly feels seasonally appropriate too for
spring training. We'll be back for spring training.
Back for spring training, baby. We're looking forward to a little bit of a rest too, because I think that will help produce better ideas for even better episodes going forward too. As fun and as great as Weekly has been all year, I think there's also a lot of merit to just like taking a beat and focusing back up on like the best possible guest episodes and also just researched episodes, things that are actually going to add value to all of your lives, which we're really excited about. So yeah, that will be what January looks like as far as Rally Caps is concerned. But we want to close this year out with not only a Q&A episode that you have all generously provided questions for, but also just really quickly touching on our Spotify Wrapped.
Oh yeah.
We got that podcast wrapped for creators, whatever Spotify is called now. I think it used to be Spotify for podcasters, and now it's Spotify for creators. And now they want Spotify to be like a video platform. And
hit them with the stats.
Hit them with the stats, Dad. So I just want to highlight the three I think coolest ones, which are the kind of like top 10, top 5, and top 1 for like fans that we like made it into their top lists.
Yeah.
For their essentially like we made it into their Wrapped, their personal Wrapped for the year. So for top 10, we had 1,100 people have Rally Caps in their top 10 podcast for the year.
Wow.
1,100 people.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's super cool.
That's a lot more than last year.
A lot more than last year. Yeah. I think it was like, if I remember correctly, it was like 500 or 600. And then it like whittled down further and further from there. We were a top 5 show for 621 people.
Wow.
Which also feels crazy. That feels like insane, honestly, to be like in that, you know, like the classic top 5 that people share to their stories. Yeah. The fact that we were in 621 of those, such a gift. Like that's so cool.
It's amazing.
That's absolutely nuts. To mean to be listening that frequently, to be in the top 5, and that's like pretty insane.
Apple Podcast just counts downloads if they're subscribed to it. Spotify that's actually listening.
Yeah.
That's people actually listening because they're engaging with it on Spotify.
Yeah.
It doesn't automatically get downloaded.
No. And that's just on Spotify too, which is really cool.
Very cool.
Then drum roll, please, for the very top fans. We were the most listened to podcast for 119 people
Wow.
in 2024. Very cool. You guys are the best. Like that's 119 people chose to listen to us.
Yeah.
Every week.
What?
Really?
Why?
You guys are so kind. That's so generous of you to choose us. I think for one, thank you.
Yes.
That's so
Thank
cool.
you.
Like it's amazing to feel like to see the stats and like to actually see the reward for all the work that we put into it to connect with all of you on that level is truly amazing. And it's so encouraging going into next year too. Thank you guys so much. It's really, it's such a special thing.
It's truly the year that Rally Caps like doubled in pretty much every way.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
Most
really
significant like YouTube growth as well.
Yep.
Like by a wide margin. Really cool stuff all around. So amazing. It's just very heartwarming. So thank you guys. Appreciate you all. Let's get into some Q&As to close out 2024.
I can't believe we're halfway through the decade, dog.
Dude,
That sucks.
yeah.
Halfway through the 20s.
Yeah. Braxton's halfway through his 20s. Almost.
Someone asked a question about Braxton, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Why is Braxton the way he is?
Are you for real? Someone who said that?
I don't recognize who it is.
What?
Jesse? Jesse. I can't get to the profile. Jesse Cause. It's very funny.
That's
We feel the same way, honestly. We know that that's not really a question.
It's
that's
not a question.
That's a statement in a question.
yeah. You can't live as many lives as Braxton has.
It's true.
No one can catch
The
up. to that.
45-year-old, 24-year-old.
He's halfway through his 20s and his 40s at the same time. It's amazing. He's a savant in that way.
Okay, so you prioritize questions from people on our Patreon.
Correct. Yeah. Initially, the whole goal was to really foster like questions on our Patreon, which you can join for free and leave questions there for future episodes. Not enough questions were left to do like a full episode. So we did go to Instagram too to source a couple extra. And hopefully this is a good reminder to people that like for future Q&A episodes, just go join for free, leave your questions there. That is where we will always give first priority to questions being asked. And those are going to be like the first, I think like 10 or so on this list.
So sorry if we don't get to yours from the Instagram.
Yes. You guys hit us with so many good questions, which we appreciate. So we're going to go through this as thoughtfully and also efficiently as possible to make sure we can get to as many people as possible. So starting off, number one, Alex Mahamadi. Shout out Alex, one of my past design clients, asking about camera setups and goal camera setups heading into 2025. What gear do you plan on acquiring, as each of you seem to have changing needs on the photo and video side? That's a very insightful question.
I just got the C80.
You did just get the C80?
Love the C80.
Yep.
We'll be building that out for the rest of 2025 and using it probably exclusively.
So really more like accessories to that camera.
Yeah, once I'm looking at Bright Tangerine, I'm like, it's looking like those cages and all that's like $1,500. I'm like,
Yeah.
Whereas Condor just reached out and set me up with cages for the C70. I'm like, is there that much of a difference? Maybe. I don't know. Every time I pick up Cyrus's FX3 setup, I'm like, oh, this top handle is super nice.
Is his Bright Tangerine?
I don't know. What's your top handle on the FX3 setup? What brand is that? The audio.
Oh, that's the Sony one.
What? Oh.
Oh, the small rig. Yeah. To make it
feels
longer.
really good.
You could get a Sony audio handle and put it on your C80.
The Canon. Cool. Yeah.
Sick.
I'm sure they'd love that.
I think they would. Sick. So fleshing out the C80 for you.
Yep.
I don't see myself having many photo video needs.
Right.
I think I'll probably get a zoom lens of sorts for my Sony system because I don't have one and I would like that for video. I'm looking at the Sigma 28 to 70-2.8 because that thing is super cheap and super versatile for what it is. And I did just pick up a Ricoh GR3X actually as well as a family cam, which
Nice.
I'm really excited about. Haven't even taken it out of the box yet.
Nice. I feel like this is the year that I'll do something like that too.
Yeah,
with film prices just
Dude, it's crazy.
getting astronomical.
Really exciting though, to have a camera like that in the repertoire. And I'll say this too. I also actually just recently bought like the most legendary lens of all time. I think I repurchased a Nifty 50
Yes.
from Canon.
Oh.
Yeah, the EF 50 1.8. Bought it from B&H.
How much?
$99.
It's still same price.
Yeah, I think it has raised a little bit, but I got like an open box one.
Nice.
And I'm excited to use that on my 5D Classic.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm setting up like a shelf of cameras at home as like our family cameras.
Yeah.
The Ricoh, my Yashica, and the 5D Classic will be like our 3 go-to. So some film, some digital point and shoot, and then like a full frame sensor to use for some stuff too. But just keeping it super cheap, super easy.
Will you edit all the 5D Classic stuff? Like,
Yeah.
You'll probably use it fairly sparingly then, yeah?
It will be like fewer and further between.
Will you edit the photos?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are you gonna be like diligent every time you shoot stuff? You're just gonna dump
Back
it,
it up,
edit it,
yeah.
and
because that sensor is so nice.
Yeah.
It has really beautiful natural colors, but the Ricoh GR3X, I'll just use I'll edit them a little bit, but I would love to see how far I can push the in-camera film simulation.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
The Yashica, the T4 will just be like good 35 mil point and shoot stuff.
nice. Yeah.
So-
Photo wise, I don't plan on changing a whole lot.
No.
Like, I'm cool with the M6 being a personal camera. I might grab another point and shoot because mine died. I really like having that option
Yep.
for film, and digitally for work. R5, R5C.
Yep.
Don't need anything more right now.
Yep. Yeah. So not much. I feel like we both kind of like end of year
Yeah.
additions for 2024. 2025 will just be like little tweaks here and there.
There's a very good chance I would get the 28 to 70 f2.
The Canon?
Yeah.
The RF?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The behemoth?
Yeah, I'd want to test it, but I feel like that on the C80 would be pretty incredible.
Yeah.
We'll see though.
Cool.
I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what 2025 looks like. Second question at Pat's the Bunny 1, Patrick Grant. On various occasions, I've tried to be consistent in different ventures, such as a personal YouTube channel, Instagram, podcast, because as we all know, consistency is key. You listen to the show. I love that. But I've never found any huge amounts of growth in doing that. Do you think consistency is truly important for online growth, or do you think it's the personal growth that goes with the consistency?
Ooh.
That's a very good question.
I think there's a lot to be said about not seeing a return on your investment on an analytical or financial side with being consistent. That is reminiscent of the quote where it's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
Right.
Like that, I think that whole concept reigns true, where that's where self-awareness comes to the fold. But that doesn't discredit what he's also asking in the question, is that time doesn't need to just be wasted time. It's not that it wasn't successful because it didn't work in the way you were hoping for business-wise.
Yeah.
But what tools are you putting in your tool belt moving forward into what you do end up doing?
Yep.
That season allowed you to learn and grow and become.
Yep. Completely agree. I think there's a lot of merit to the personal growth that comes with consistent things. Even if you're not seeing money, even if you're not seeing followers grow, those connections and those developments are just as valuable, even though they might not always feel like that in the moment when you are putting a lot of yourself to showing up at this one thing over and over and you just don't see things change. To that point also, I would say, if that is the case, maybe that is a good time to self-assess and see what you could change that could potentially catalyze some kind of growth.
Right.
Because if you are kind of spinning your wheels and you are showing up being consistent, quote unquote, that is great. But if you're applying that kind of energy to something and nothing is changing, maybe there needs to be something in the actual application that needs to change in the style and the approach, like whatever it is. I think that's a good litmus test. Just be like, okay, I've been consistent for a year on this one thing, haven't seen a ton of change or growth. Maybe I need to change the way that I am actually going about applying consistency to that thing. Yeah. It's a great question.
The metaphor reigns true in running as well. Like if you start plateauing in your performances, you need to go back to your block and figure out what variables you need to change and or add.
Right.
And that is the thing that usually pushes you over the threshold into an outcome that is greater than the thing you have repetitiously been doing as an outcome.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it reigns true in that it's really good to balance what you could be doing differently. And what I talk about frequently with comparison being that double-edged sword, where it could be something that's really detrimental to you emotionally, comparing yourself to people who are farther ahead, but a healthy comparison of those traits in someone else could be the variables that you need to apply to make it different for yourself moving forward. And if you do that, apply those from multiple sources and still aren't seeing an outcome, time to reevaluate again.
Agreed. Sweet. Love that question.
Great question.
It's a really good one. Very applicable to a lot of the episodes that we've made this year also. And I like that point of clarity. Question number 3, Chad Bowditch. Wait, I know Chad. I have actually never said his name out loud before. Rhode Island wedding filmmaker.
Nice.
We've shot a wedding together before.
I
don't think I've ever said your name out loud before, Chad. I can definitely get Chad correct, though. I know how to say that. I'd love to hear your advice on building a local creative community. I've always admired what you've achieved with Creative Club, but I've struggled to feel confident in gathering like-minded creatives in my area. Any tips or insights would be greatly appreciated. Another loaded question, because I feel like there's not a super easy answer to that.
There is no one right way to do it.
Yeah. I think in some circumstances, you kind of have to be a little bit lucky.
Yes.
To have, the right collection of people that have the same open mind to doing something like that. We felt like we captured lightning in a bottle with Creative Club. I mean, it's unique what we have. And I think like brute forcing it isn't necessarily the best option.
No.
But I think there are certain things that you could start with if you want to be the one catalyzing that type of thing to, take the initiative on leasing a space, doing things like we did with like open coffee events, kind of putting the cart before the horse in a sense. Like
Field of Dreams, if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah, it's truly. Yeah, like if you really believe in it and you really want to see it happen, I think just doing things that will encourage people to see eye to eye with you and like believe in the same vision would be great. And so doing things that like make the barrier to entry low, like already found a space, we're hosting events, even if it's just you like spearheading that thing, making it like approachable, making it like as interesting as possible too, like showing the potential before it's really even a thing, like a proper thing, so to speak. Like it doesn't have to be a brand before it is just like a collective of friends wanting to do something.
Yeah. I think a huge part of it needs to be really low expectations as well.
Yes.
It's just like this isn't going to be a profitable business. Like any kind of co-working business is incredibly hard to make profitable. And
thanks WeWork for ruining that for all of us.
It becomes a full-time job to even try to manage that. And then it's so cyclical with seats and people like revolving in and out. So I think really low expectations, and not that you shouldn't expect that other people in the space should be doing equal work to make it great, but to try to encourage a culture within that space that is leading by example and like taking initiative to do things. Maybe things that are scary, maybe things that are out of your wheelhouse, but putting in the time and effort to do those things and not expecting anything from anybody else in the group to notice or care, but just to make it better. And I think if people come in with that mindset and don't hold bitterness against anyone else in the space for not pulling their weight or whatever, I think that's what can really create a good environment that like constantly grows, changes, evolves, is exciting. And then every once in a while, just like making sure there's good communication on like, these are things we need to do. Like, let's divvy it out and actually do it and hold each other accountable to it.
Yeah. Once you actually get to a place where there is something formed, good communication is essential, because if there isn't, then tensions will flare and there will be difficulties, because it's like you said, a part-time job at minimum to like maintain a space like that. And when there's so many people in and out in our circumstance for Creative Club too, it got to a point where very few were doing like the vast majority of work to kind of get things done. And it was difficult. Like there was a lot of like really hard moments like that. And so making sure communication expectations are set right from the outset is like a huge benefit that will set you up for success long term, rather than having to deal with that like a year or 2 years into it once the bad habits are formed. I think, to speak for both of us, I think we both feel the same way. After years of running Creative Club, it feels really good to not be doing that anymore. Like right now in this particular season, I think things like that, like community groups and studios and organizations like that, are a really worthwhile endeavor, certainly. But knowing that they're not forever is also a really key component before getting into it.
Yeah, because looking at them as an incubator when people are in rapid growth stages is really good, because you can lean on each other to second shoot, to assist, to build a team, you just like jump in. And when you have so much more time available, where maybe you don't have a bunch of contracts in the cards yet, and you're just dabbling in what's possible, kind of all of you in that realm, it's really easy to test the waters and kind of collectively do what we talked about in a previous question is like, let's figure out what we are capable of individually and as a group. And just saying yes to a lot of things together.
100%. Question number 4, Ember and Ash Films, Ryan Sims. Shout out Ryan, another past design client and a very good friend. Do you believe there is a stigma against wedding photo video in other creative industries? It seems like a lot of artists start in that space and then quote unquote graduate to something else over time. I would love your thoughts because you both have a similar career arc. I love this question because I think we've talked about it before, but absolutely there is a stigma. I think we both believe that.
Oh,
yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. The idea of like, oh, you're just in weddings, or you're, oh, that's what you do kind of thing. It's like, oh, that's not art.
Yeah. I think there's 2 stigmas.
Yeah. Okay.
It's that is one of them.
Yep.
And then the other one is like, oh, you're crazy for still doing that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because it's so much work.
Yeah, for sure.
How are you still doing that so frequently? So it's a very loaded topic, and one that I love discussing because I like arguing against the criticism of it being not artistic. Because the wedding episode we did, look at me recalling.
Look at you.
Something that we did this year.
Look at that.
Really resulted in us coming to the conclusion that this is some of the most important visual work that exists in a photographic medium, in a filmmaking medium.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you might make a short film on YouTube or a carousel of unbelievable commercial images on Instagram, but like, let's be honest, those are going to be drowned in a sea of internet where lots of people who really liked it, maybe thousands of people who really liked it, engaged with it, most likely we're not going to remember that piece 10 years from now. And the wedding work that you do will be cherished by a small group of people for their entire existence on the planet.
Yep.
That's kind of unbelievable. The fact that you can make something that is in their top whatever list of pieces of art for the rest of their life. Yeah. That's what I think is unreal and unbelievably special.
Yeah, so, you could make it into their Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah. I was going to make the connection, but lifetime Spotify Wrapped. That part is unbelievably special, and I think motivates so many people to continue in that line of work, myself being included, but to then argue against the other form of it with being like, you're still doing it at that capacity. That's where I kind of agree, where it's like, it is, if you're doing 30 a year, it's very, very intense. You need to have systems. You need to have ways of distributing admin tasks or editing, or, cause if you're on cause there was another question I got on Instagram from Benjamin Kelly that was like, if you're full time in wedding photo video, how many hours were you doing a week? When I was doing it at 30 to 35 a year, I think I was consistently at 50 to 60 hours of work a week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, clearly that's not something that's super sustainable for people. And that's when I was doing it solo. I wasn't outsourcing anything. So yeah, that's, again, we could unpack this for an entire other episode. Sure. Yep. But I think the sentiment,
which honestly is a good idea for next year. Yeah, that is a good episode idea to strictly focus on that
one topic, because it is true that so many people start with it, and for good reason, because there's tons of money to be made in weddings because of how big of an investment it is to the individuals. And then there's obviously a huge burnout rate because of how difficult it is. And yet it's this internship of creativity that allows you to practice virtually every asset of dealing with a client, of being on set, of being creative, photojournalistic, lighting, everything.
Yep.
Dealing with people, communications, administration, like it's all encompassing, which can be extremely overwhelming to start, can be really rewarding in profitability, but can set you up for so much diversity of creative work in the future. And anyone that thinks that it's not worth artistic integrity can eat a sock.
Yeah. Huff my shorts. Because that's ridiculous. That's such a dumb, like holier than thou perspective to have on it. And I think to Ryan's point also, I think we are both people who still love to photograph weddings and also fit the archetype of what he just said, that we graduated from them to a certain degree because we're not photographing the same amount or filming the same amount that we used to. But that was even done with a certain level of intentionality. It was partially because we wanted to have more time for ourselves and our families. And also we wanted to give a better product to our couples that we did choose to work with throughout a year, because there is a certain element of high volume starts to get really exhausting, starts to get really rinse and repeat. And it can be really tough to maintain that pace, especially for years and years and years on end. And so bringing back the quantity and hopefully at the same time elevating the quality of each wedding that you are choosing to work on is, I think, it's been a breath of fresh air for us. Like the weddings that we've done in 2024 have all been amazing.
Unreal.
Like top 10 weddings. You know, like lifetime stuff, like really, really special stories, really good people and couple. Like it's become more rewarding to be a wedding photographer, having scaled things back and having done so with sacrificing, you know, the income that comes with that, padding it with other things, but treating weddings as a cherished piece of our business, but not the entire piece of our business.
Yeah, the whole idea of not graduating from weddings, like that, I think I would want that to be a mentality. I don't ever, outside of, you know, not physically being able to do it, really ever want to say I'm not going to. If the opportunity presents itself and it's like really special, I want to be able to do that for people.
We got to get Benj back on next year.
That'd be great.
I think a follow-up episode with him would be awesome because we interviewed him 4 years ago. He was like the first guest ever. And his business has changed quite a bit too in the last 4 years.
But he's still going.
Weddings have always been consistent in that regard.
I do wonder what his percentage is now. I'm sure it's way lower. But yeah, it seems like that is the move for a lot of people, and that's totally okay.
All right, question number 5. Thank you, Ryan, for question number 4. Number 5, Evan Nichols, who we met in Franklin for the Moving Still premiere. I'd love to hear more about your creative goals going into 2025 and just the role that goal setting has played in both of your careers. In a video that Eric made a couple of years ago, he mentioned making a list of photo and video goals he wanted to accomplish. Would love to hear about that list, but also would love to hear what like setting goals has looked like over the last few years and going forward. So goal setting for 2025.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I think, well, I'm still working on that right now, to be honest, but I think the biggest thing for me is creating the funnel for graphic design to be like the lion's share of the business going forward, which I think I'm poised pretty well right now to do. I've got a lot of promotional stuff and separate account and like a bunch of things that I'll be launching very soon, or soon in relation to this episode going out at least, which I'm really pumped about to get that ball rolling even more. I've worked with, I think it's just over like 50 clients in the last 9 or 10 months on a graphic design front. Crazy. With like another 20 to 25 spec projects, and also maintaining like rally caps and moving still as like 2 like long-term clients, so to speak, that I've been investing in. So it's been a very busy year, and I'm excited to kind of move into like a new phase of that with the type of clients that I'm working with. So that's a big goal. And I think in a weird way too, I actually would like to take another stab at YouTube and see what that looks like, having found more success than I have in years past in just the last 2 videos that I've shared, just sharing stuff from the heart, sharing stuff that is really interesting to me, is really exciting to see feedback like that. And it's also something that I can do remotely from home, which is going to be a huge part of the next few months for me as well. Being home and being a dad and just being a very active, involved parent alongside Laura, that's something that means a lot to me. And design and YouTube are 2 of those things that I can do from anywhere at any point in time. And that's really, really appealing. So we'll see what those 2 things pan out for. Especially YouTube, I'm like less certain on. Graphic design, absolutely. That is like a bulletproof thing for me going forward. But those are probably the 2 biggest things I'm thinking about right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I am more excited about YouTube than I have been in the last 2.5 years, I think.
Sweet.
Yeah. Between both channels, it feels like releasing the documentary has given me so much life. I knew it would because of the creative space it's opening up in my head, and not having to, do any promotion or marketing or anything revolving around it, editing, exports, all those things. But yeah, I knew it would be sort of a jump starter and a Kickstarter to getting that channel alive again. And what's so cool is it's this monumental piece for us that we can then recall back to so much. And I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, I've never been comfortable calling myself a director. Like, would you be comfortable enough, both of us, to put director in your Instagram bio now?
I don't know if I would promote it, but I do feel much more confidence now going forward. I would absolutely say like I could direct a project now after the film is out.
Isn't that cool?
That we can share it. Yeah.
Isn't that really cool?
Yeah.
Like that you could have a leg to stand on, or, plenty of people put director in their profile, but what does that actually mean? And then to look back at that and the confidence in you saying that to a potential project or client, saying like, we directed this entire feature film. So it's going to be exciting to recall back to it, to break down scenes and how we shot stuff, how we edited things, and who knows how much of that we'll make. I really want it to be kind of passion driven. But I'm super excited with the connections I have in the creative space still, and continue to make to potentially shoot more short films. Like seeing Danny do what he's doing with Music Bed is so cool. My next Music Bed contract is split between my main channel and my running channel, which is kind of crazy. So those worlds are kind of converging. And there's just so much open opportunity for what is next. To go back to the part of the question where he refers to me making a list of photos and video clips I wanted to accomplish. That was in my junior high classroom. During standardized testing, I had nothing to do. So I wrote 2 computer sheet front and back of different creative things I wanted to accomplish that year, which then I think I nailed like half of those. So I actually haven't made a list like that in a long time. And I have old ones in Google Docs, and I think it would be really, really cool to sit down again, especially with the tools that I have at my disposal now, like Shot Deck or Frame Set or all these visual creative inspirations to like throw into a huge document or a Milanote or something. And then think, okay, where can I accomplish these visual goals this year? Or what could this visual mood board inspire in a written form or a short film form?
Very cool. Question number 7, at Ethan Lemieux Media. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, last name. What do you do when you want to create more but don't know what to create? Wanting to do more narrative style videos and I don't know where to begin. What do you do when you want to create more but you don't know? So essentially, how do you find direction? When you have a lot of creative energy but you don't have a lot of direction to pair it with.
I feel like that's a struggle that we all go through.
Everyone faces it. I'll say that. Yeah. Like you are not like weird for experiencing that right now. We all go through that weekly. No, it's a very, very common thing.
My best piece of advice for it is just start with what's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, look for the nuance in the normalcy of your life and how to bring it to life.
Yep.
How to take something that you've just considered as boring to make it into something that is interesting.
Yep.
And at the root of that, that's ultimately what creativity is all about.
Yep.
I talked a lot in the classroom about how so many wedding photographers complain about dark hotel rooms with terrible lighting. And I love scenarios like that because then it just challenges you to go, okay, how do you make this look beautiful? How do you make it feel compelling or feel how it felt to be in there?
Yep.
And maybe sometimes that is leaning into kind of the dungeon lighting, but maybe that means that you're just exposing for the highlights and like making it really dramatic or leaning into black and white a ton. So the whole idea of just kind of flipping what you feel might be boring or uninspiring in your life into something that is very compelling and relatable to people, I think is a huge motivating factor to creativity. The second part of that would be to stretch yourself to be uncomfortable with trying something outside of that realm then. And the documentary for me was like that. At that point in the career, I was like, I want something bigger. I want to use these skills on something that's more impactful than a 15-minute thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's different for everybody in the trajectory they're on right now, where they're at.
Yep. For sure. I would piggyback off that and just say that personally, I really like to get out of whatever your primary space is that you're creating in, that you want to create more in, but you don't really know what direction you're headed. Whatever that might be, I would get out of that lane. So for me, if I'm kind of stumped on a photo video level, I kick it back with music or with design, or I read a book, or I get outside, focus on my health. I kind of detach from that thing because I find that oftentimes it is this is the liberal arts student in me, the intrinsic value of all these interconnected things. By nurturing those other parts of your life, you'll ultimately find better direction and clarity in those lanes. And sometimes I think if you hit a roadblock, it just means like, cool, that road is closed temporarily. Let me just get out of the car, go on a walk, do my thing, and recalibrate a little bit. I think there's a lot of value to that.
Phenomenal answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Off the top of the dome.
Yeah,
we're rolling.
It's the be inspired by other creative things. It could be as simple as going on a walk.
Absolutely.
And noticing things you wouldn't otherwise.
That's a really cool experience too, when it kind of clicks.
Listen to Passion Pits, take a walk while you do it.
There you go. Right on the nose. At CK Hicks, which also shout out to CK for being such an incredible, loyal commenter, engaged with the YouTube channel, engaged with the Patreon, with our personal stuff. CK, you are the best. I'm sorry that we do not get to all of your comments. They're very thoughtful. And sometimes our attention to responding to stuff is not always the best.
It's hard.
CK, you're a legend. Thank you so much for this question and all of the other comments that you've left previously. At CK Hicks, our guy. Do you think that personal blogs and websites will make a strong comeback? Or do you think that central distribution sites such as YouTube and Instagram still feel like the way of the future?
I think there's a creative angle you could have by going back to a more analog version of the internet.
Yeah. The early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to make it compelling though. Maybe it's paired with a piece of media in the other camp that points to that blog.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
If people then would be willing to, or you make a YouTube video about how you wrote a blog.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And be like, you want to read the whole thing? Go read it.
You go check it out. Yeah. Yep. I think absolutely. I wonder if, I feel like Substack has been on the rise. Also, like people kind of doing their own personal newsletters through a Substack type form. That kind of strikes me as like an in-between almost, where it is its own individual silo, such as a YouTube or an Instagram, but it feels much more like an early blog website, all text-based, some media sprinkled out through that. But it's really intended to just be like something that you read and share words with people there. Medium is also a really great website for that. Like,
and you can get paid to write there.
You can now. Yeah. Man, I remember in college, this was like, I took 2 journalism classes in college during my communication arts degree, and Medium at that point in time, this was like 8 or 9 years ago, Medium was like pretty much like in beta. Like it was a super new platform that my journalism professor was really excited about and couldn't wait to share it with us because it was like a really cool cutting edge thing. And I've loved it so much. Like I used to use it religiously throughout college just to like document my own thoughts and ideas. And it was just like such a sleek interface and it felt really cool and fun. And it's amazing to see how it has evolved over the years now. And the fact that you can like have an account and like set up a paywall and like actually get paid as a writer on there. Which is really encouraging to see that platform for writers because I feel like that's a creative niche that often is like underserved to like really talented writers. It's very hard to kind of cut your teeth on that. But yeah, I think stuff like that absolutely I think it's a good investment of time. And I think it kind of falls in line with what we've seen on YouTube also, where longer form, less flashy, more organic, more real is clearly making a comeback. So I think that could totally be applied to other industries and other, I guess, forms outside of YouTube.
Yeah. That's exciting.
It is.
Because, it doesn't require as much polishing, which we've gone through that era and everybody's kind of burned out of, you know, like all the retention editing. And people don't want it anymore, which is great.
I love it. It's awesome.
If
I see too much polish in a YouTube video now, I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
It's kind of crazy.
It's weird. It's really weird. I'm like, this is too entertaining. I'm cool. I don't want the overstimulation right now. I'm going to botch this. So many great last names that I don't know how to pronounce today, but Vince is also an awesome person who we have chatted with multiple times on Instagram. Vince, you're a legend. I'm first time saying your name out loud. I'm sorry. Vince Petit Jean or Petit Jean. I think we've had 2 French last names so far, and I don't speak a lick of it. So, Vince, thank you for your question. He asks, you all have film Leica M cameras. So M6 is across the board in here. But have any of us thought about or tried a digital Leica M camera? I don't think I'd ever own one, to be honest. I don't particularly like Leica M digital, but I love the Q series. The Qs are awesome. Like those cameras are incredible. I've never felt a really strong connection with any of the Leica M digital bodies that I've used.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I mean, I held the M11 when Joe got it and it was incredible, but I don't feel like I could ever justify spending that much money to not really shoot on something all that often.
No.
I'm just never shooting anything personal on digital. Maybe that's the issue is I would need to find something like that. If I did though, it would probably be in a Q series or a Fuji X100 series versus the cream of the crop in an M10 or M11. And I don't even have any Leica glass to pair with it, so I'd have to invest in that too. So
it's so expensive for, in my opinion, not a lot of return.
In the same realm of like, I'm not interested in getting a luxury car. I'm not really interested in getting a luxury camera.
If I were to invest like a Leica M11 amount of money into a camera, it would be a Hasselblad X2D.
Yeah, just like a solid medium format.
Like fits a totally different need. Like if I'm going to spend that much money, I don't really want a full frame sensor. I want something that is going to be a totally different class of camera and can open up new creative possibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I don't feel like the images I'm making with an M10 or M11 are going to be that much more superior than my R5. Like they will be. I'm sure they will be.
In some ways, maybe, but also...
And it'll make the experience so much more enjoyable. I'll pick the camera up more, absolutely. But I agree with you, getting something that's going to motivate. To me, it's like, it's also a business move too. Like,
yeah, for sure.
If I were to get a medium format digital camera, it would probably motivate me to want to do more commercial photography.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Great question. Nate Peterson asks, photography styles have shifted toward a natural filmic look, which I think is pretty different from the aesthetics of early Instagram, 2010 to 2017-ish, correct? In 10 plus years from now, do you think we'll view today's style the same way as that we view the early Instagram style now? So will we look at like the crazy early visco crushed photos of like yesteryear Instagram the same way as we view the filmic colors that we're posting now 10 years from now?
I don't think we will.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. No.
No, I think the early days of Instagram was all about vibes because I think what they were trying to channel was a digital form of bad film photography.
Yeah. I mean, all of those early filters were modeled after like different like instant film stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah, just like messy, sloppy film photography because it was so vibey. You're like, whoa, this existed in analog, but now we have a digital option to do it.
All the borders that they would include,
all the borders, everything at 100% opacity. Like the more vibes, the better. Film dust.
Zero detail in the shadows.
There was
nothing.
There was a Visco competitor called Faded, and their hashtag was made with faded. And so I would take iPhone photos and I would edit them in Visco, toss them to made with faded.
Wow.
And I would fade the image. I'd put like dust on it and stuff, like all that. And you look back at that, you're like, it's too much. It's too much. I think a quarter to half promised on footage now feel like that. Things like overbaked colors, Da Vinci coloring that maybe is a little
so on the filmmaking side, a couple like trends like that might be a little
There will
less.
absolutely be a moment that so many filmmakers look back on in this era and be like, wow, I way oversaturated all of that. And like the hue of this is way too warm. I guarantee there'll be artists that feel that way. I don't think it discredits the work that they're making now. I think it's really fun, really cool, really exciting, but I don't know if it's timeless.
No.
Yeah.
Which, is funny. I think as far as like our photo work is concerned, we really like to make sure that our photo work is timeless. And I think there have been multiple times where I've scrolled back on my feed to kind of like gut check things out. Like what have I been photographing, and even stuff that when I first got my Mamiya 645 AFD 4 years ago, whenever it was, those early images, I see them now and I'm like, they look great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wouldn't change anything. They look exactly how I would want them to look today also, which is really encouraging. And also to that point of like, it's kind of the era. You remember Allie from Johnny and Allie?
Yeah.
One thing she said during our consultation with them really stood out to me, where she talked about fashion and how like she didn't care if something was too trendy or too in the moment, because for her, she could look back on photos of that time and know exactly when that was like that photo was taken, essentially. Like, that hoodie or that pair of pants or whatever it was, like it's cool to look back on it and think like, I remember when I was into such and such a thing. And I know exactly when that era was. I think it's also okay to have a couple things like that where you're like, look at me. Like that style of editing was like so of the early 2010s or the early 2020s or whatever it was. If it's for personal stuff, who cares? Experiment, have a little fun.
Yeah.
Watch your style evolve over time.
No doubt.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cassidy Prince Media, at Cassidy Prince Media. When you're feeling low or burnt out, what is something that helps you guys?
Running.
Books.
Yep.
Family time.
Pretty simple.
All the stuff that isn't work.
Lock the phone in the car.
Yep.
Be present at home.
Yep.
Running for me especially, it's similar to your taking a walk. Like if I am anxious, if I can carve out some time to be out in nature and run, like it most of the time just all melts away.
Yep.
And it's this shocking physical thing to my body that makes me realize that what I'm worrying about isn't all that important.
Yeah. I think fitness in general is a really good way to break out of that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be a walk, like that counts as physical activity. Like that is something really valuable. And then to the same degree, if I'm going down to cycle and lift weights for a little bit in our gym, like that is a huge way to just get out of my own head and focus on something entirely different than whatever it is that I'm going through in that moment. And it's not ignoring it.
Right. It's not an escape.
It's not an escape. It's just a way to, I think, not fixate on it, because there's a really slippery slope to doom spiral and let that thing consume you. And this is a way to just step back, prevent that from happening, but then kind of release some of the tension, get some mental clarity back, and ultimately address that thing with a fresher headspace, I think. That's a great question. I like that one a lot. Okay, at MROM561, MROM561, goated film scanning method. Are you taking it to the lab or scanning it yourself these days? We have not. That's interesting. Timely. Very timely. We send all of our stuff, like everyone in our studio here. We all send our film to Nice Film Club in New York City. They are amazing. We love them very much. And also because they are so popular right now, they are increasing their prices for their memberships quite a bit. And also film is getting, Kodak is increasing the prices anywhere from 5 to 8% on their most popular stocks, while like Tri-X, like black and white film, and Ektar are actually seeing a reduction in price, which is interesting. So black and white and Ektar, I'm going to be shooting a lot of Ektar next year.
Same.
A lot of Ektar. But like Portrait 800 is, I think, seeing like a 7 or 8% increase. I think on B&H, it's already reflected, and it's like $89 for a box of Portrait 800 in 120, which is crazy bands. So I think in combination with just everything seems to be getting more expensive as far as film is concerned, we will maybe go back to a self-scanning method. Braxton's actually already looking into some,
as we speak,
some possibilities.
He's clicking away his keys.
If you can hear the mechanical keyboard in the background, that's what he's looking for.
It does make me sad that I got rid of my negative supply kit.
Yeah.
Now that, like, had I known this would be the circumstance 4 or 5 months ago, I would have hung on to it.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Hope he's enjoying it a whole lot, but
Corey's the best.
Yeah. I don't think we're, I don't think we're opposed to a new brand. Like, I know Braxton's looking at extensions that just go off the lens. And I think that,
Veloy has really cool stuff,
especially just with a more consolidated studio now, not having the huge copy stand and like a place that's designated for it. But if there's one light and just an attachment you could put at the end of the camera that you could literally just do at your desk. Pretty great.
Huge.
And then probably Negative Lab Pro.
Still to convert. I think it'll probably be a hybrid method for next year. Some lab stuff, some self-scanning stuff. Yeah,
like if it's a really, really important thing, I could see myself sending it off to, Tennessee or, like somewhere that I know and trust as well. And then keeping all of the personal stuff to the lab we go to for dev in Chicago, and then scanning in studio again. Because while it was really time consuming, I felt like it was a really good time for me to shock the system and slow down at work a bit, to like really care about the photographs I'm making.
Yeah. I was using way too much film to want to do that. I was in a heyday, and man, self-scanning got to a point where I was dreading it, and it would be a 4-hour chunk of time. It was like half a work day to get through, a collection of stuff. So I think a hybrid model going forward would be nice. We'll see. That's a really timely question though, because we're literally still working through it right now, trying to figure out what our approach is going to be. So a hybrid going forward. Okay.
I meant Kentucky, not Tennessee.
State film.
State. Yeah.
I will still send stuff to Nice, just not as frequently. Cause it also depends on how much we're going to be using film next year as well. I really want to focus on 6x7 stuff, like really meaningful 6x7 images, I think.
Yeah. You're
probably
really good at that.
Thank you. I love my Pentax so much. That camera is unbelievable. Okay. So at lucas.j.robinson, what's your favorite board game?
Currently?
Yeah.
I played Ticket to Ride last night with the boys.
Dude, Ticket to Ride is good.
Very fun.
Very fun game.
I don't know if this counts though. I haven't played it a bunch recently, but Theo and I have been doing Splendor. It's a card game, which I would kind of consider a board game.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah. Cool.
And then classic all-time Monopoly. You have to.
Yeah, Monopoly's great.
Yeah, I got it.
Love a good Yahtzee.
We also do a good bit of Yahtzee in our home.
That was my childhood game with my dad. Yahtzee was it.
Oh,
that was so much fun. Oh man,
we go through phases.
Yeah. I also don't know if it's like a board game, same spirit. Bananagrams.
Yeah.
Love Bananagrams.
Very fun.
That's a classic in our Schultz family unit. trying to think. Ticket to Ride is a really good one, actually. If you have a couple hours, like that's a really, really fun game.
I am predisposed to hate board games.
Are you really?
Yeah,
okay.
I was always the person, there's like meme videos of people like listening to the instructions and just completely zoning out. I'm that person.
That's you. Yep.
And then my family actually never played board games. I would always beg them
Really?
to.
Okay.
No, they would be like, nah.
It was a big thing for us growing up for sure. Yeah.
I've wanted to make it something in our home.
Yeah.
And it is like, we're pretty regularly playing stuff. Like,
That's fun.
Yeah. It's some of the funnest memories for me and the boys is like playing before work. Mm-hmm. And it's me asking them like, hey, can we get a quick game of Splendor in?
Quick sesh in real quick. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I like that question also.
That's really
stuff
good.
outside of photo video chats. This is actually Alex again, at Alex Mo Photo, Alex Mahamadi. Who was your number one on 2024 Spotify Wrapped?
I was Life in Stride podcast. It's a running podcast.
You have a music one also though.
Oh, musical artist?
Yeah. Who's your number one?
I thought it was podcast.
Oh yeah. You could say that also.
My number one was Bleachers.
Bleachers, nice. The band Camino for me.
You're always blasting them.
Oh, always. Life in Stride for you. I think my top podcast. Oh, as usual, my brother and me.
Yeah.
Yep. Great improv comedy, hilarious show. At Brotography by Quaid. What's up, Quaid? How do you guys handle pricing delivery of film photos or a film add-on to a session?
I don't make it a big deal. I always just throw it in if my clients want it and include 2 to 3 rolls.
Yep.
Because I feel like that's a pretty easy cost of doing business for myself to make my clients really, really happy. And then I'll consider a custom quote if they want to do more than that.
Cool.
Which is very rare.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of the same way. I like doing it for myself more than anything.
Same.
So I will often, even if they don't pay for it, still do it because it's good portfolio work. Mm-hmm. And if they do, try to make it as reasonable as possible, cover the cost of the film and the dev and scan. But it doesn't need to be this like, we're doubling the package because we're adding film.
Right.
No, it's just like, we do it for ourselves first and foremost. Like, let's be real.
For sure.
It's so satisfying for us. So finding a way to make it as accessible to them, you make a little bit of money out of it, but more importantly, you get to do it so that you can keep building that film portfolio. I think is probably the sweet spot for most people.
Personally, for me, I do worry about monetizing film photography because I don't want it to spoil how much I love it in my personal life.
Okay,
that's another component.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when I don't charge for it, I also still have the passion because it's this really fun thing that I get to bring along, and then it's this delayed gratification of my work as well. Because I get into Lightroom like, I can't wait till the scans come back.
Yep,
Let's see how different this scene is on film versus what it was digitally.
Yep.
So I delivered a whole digital catalog to a client last week, and I just got the scans back from that same wedding, and it's a completely different vibe. And I'm so excited to edit those, put them into the gallery as a different folder, and be like, check out the film stuff.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a good feeling too, to just show that extra perspective.
And it's another little like cherry on top for them afterwards, or it's like, here's what you paid for. And then a week later, like, hey, check out all the film.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. Okay. Last question for this episode, because I think we're
pretty long.
We're getting up there now. I know we said we'd be quick, but as always with Q&A episodes, we get you guys ask such good questions. Like, how can we not spend a little more time on them?
And we're philosophical in nature.
We are. Okay. At the Nate Black, what is up, Nate?
Oh, Nate.
If there was the technology to have a camera put inside of a contact lens, would you get it?
No.
I say no as well. Yeah. My gut instinct when I saw this question roll in was no.
Nope.
Because I don't know. We both wear contacts.
Yep.
I'm not wearing mine right now. But as cool as that might be, and as futuristic as that might be, for me, making an image is a lot more about the physical object that I'm interacting with to make an image. I don't think I would feel like I'm making an image if I'm looking at a scene and then I'm blinking to like click the shutter or something. The actual relationship with the device, the tool that you were using to create that image is a pretty vital part of the process for me. And I'd feel so disconnected from the process if all I had to do was just like look at a scene and then click, like what would that even feel like?
There is a part of me that feels like it would be really cool while running. And I feel like Joe would want it.
Ray-Ban Meta.
Yeah.
It kind of exists already. You know what I mean? Like we have it in glasses.
It's never going to be the quality it would take so long for it to be the quality that you would want it to be.
That too. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think I would really do anything with images. This is a weird aside about myself that I don't know if I've ever really told anyone. I will practice taking photographs by blinking.
Okay.
Do you ever do that?
No.
I will create compositions visually. And like if it's a plane crossing a certain moment,
Yep.
like I'll try to time it, or I blink as if I was shooting the shutter.
Interesting.
So like, yeah, I've found myself spacing out doing stuff like that. Say I'm backing out of a terminal
Yep.
in a plane and I see a composition coming. I'll like wait and then try to take the image in my mind. I'm like Jim and Pamming it on their wedding day.
Yeah. With the, yeah.
But I feel like little nuanced things like that are really good practice for when Joe talks about it too, where when he sees images while he's running that he can't take, it creates this fire in him as an artist that makes him a different photographer when he does pick up the camera.
For sure.
And so always having it as an option could really ruin your desire and passion to make the images in the first place.
I agree. Yeah. I don't do the blinking thing, but I'll do the same, look at a scene,
make the comp with your
take
eyes,
a step back almost and be like, oh, wait, hang on. Okay. And that's what it would look like roughly with 28. That's what it would look like roughly with 50. For me with the blinking, it's always about timing though. For sure. Yeah.
It's always trying to time an image.
And that is a vital part of the image making process. So that's really cool. And I like that question though, because it's like the fun hypothetical of it. It's like, oh, if you had the power to do this thing, like, would you do it? I just don't think it would feel the same as making images otherwise. I do think the Ray-Ban Meta glasses are really cool and things like that. The fact that they already exist is like interesting for, I'd say, like casual social media use. Like I like the way that Ben uses them actually. There's a little behind the scenes for elopements that he's photographing and little Instagram stories here and there, but it could be useful in that circumstance. But I don't know. There's just something about picking up that camera and making that conscious choice to go photograph this thing that I think, like you said, it fuels the fire. It really puts you in a headspace of, okay, I'm making something right now.
Yeah.
If it's too accessible, it almost feels like what am I even doing? Awesome. That was a great episode. Last one of 2024.
Woo!
We did it. Every week for a year. Feels so good, man.
Congratulations.
We did it. Thank you all for tuning in for all of 2024 with us. Appreciate you all. Thanks for being part of our Spotify Wrapped. Thank you for asking questions today. Thank you for showing up on YouTube and Instagram and Spotify and all the places that we share stuff. It really means the world to us. We could not have asked for a better team in 2024 and beyond in 2025. We are both very excited for our little off-season break. What do we call it earlier? Our off-season?
Solitical. Not a sabbatical, solitical.
It's a sabbatical makes sense because it's baseball, right? Oh, wow. It's been a long year. Yeah, I'm so tired.
No, I'm just trying to think of other.
I hope Cyrus cringed at that because that was pretty. Hey, dad jokes.
There we go. Welcome to the club.
It all makes sense. We love you guys. Like and subscribe and comment and share. You guys know the drill. Leave a rating and a review. We love you very much, and we will see you next year.
Yes. See you then. Love you. Goodbye.